Hi, in this video we will talk about Git and we will get to know Git and its basics. So before we start this video, just make sure you have Git installed. Just in your terminal type git -- version, and if you are on Windows, use git bash for this tutorial. So as you can see, I have a list of definitions here, so I will go one by one explaining things. So first we have what is Git and why would someone use it. So Git is a management tool that allows us to keep track of changes that we do to files. It is very useful for software development because imagine if you are working on a project, you don't want to share your code just by zipping files and sharing between developers, right? So you need to somehow also keep track of changes that you made to your code, maybe to put different versions of the code, and also if we have multiple environments and versions, for example, like production version, development version, and stage version. So all of that is managed by Git. So this is a must when it comes to software development. Then we have what is GitHub and GitLab. Well, if you create a new Git project, you need to somehow share it between other developers. Again, to share it, we need to ensure that all developers have access to the same code base, and services like GitHub and GitLab allows us to publish or deploy our Git projects so limited number of users can have access to it. These projects might be private or maybe even public. So services like GitHub and GitLab are made just to manage everything online and share Git projects between people. All right, now configuring Git globally. So before we get started with some Git projects, we need to configure it first. So I'm gonna open git bash, and the first thing I'm gonna type, I need to get to know Git, and Git needs to get to know me. So I will type git config -- global user.name, and then put your name that you want to be displayed when you do some changes to the code. So in my case, it is going to be my username, just like that. And after that, I will also need to populate global config with my email. So exactly the same command, git config global user.email. And after that, my email. Just like that. Now we need to verify if we did everything right. So for this, again, git config global and -- list. And you will see your username and email that you've entered. All right, after that, we are ready to finally start. Let me close the terminal. And then we have initializing a new Git project, commits, and basic Git commands. All right, so let's get started. On a desktop, I'm gonna create a new folder and I'm gonna name it super project. I'm gonna open it. Here I'm gonna create a new file. It is going to be a simple text file, let's say file.txt. Then I'm gonna open it with the Sublime text, so it is available here. And also I want to open my terminal inside this folder. So I'm gonna do git bash, and whoops, it is here. Now, what we need to do to initialize a Git project. So the first thing we need to do, we need to type git init in the folder where we have the project. So make sure you, in your terminal, you navigated to the right folder. So git init. All right. After that, you will see that string master appeared in your terminal. That's totally fine. We will talk about that later. Don't focus on that right now. Right now, we initialized a new Git project. So what we can do, first command to actually see what is happening, we can type git status to see our current status of our Git project. As you can see, we have no commits yet, we have untracked files, and nothing added to commit. So what does it mean? So first of all, changes in the Git system are called commits. So when you create a new change and you want to publish this change, it means that you publish a commit. So you commit yourself to the project. Now, as you can see, it says that we have untracked files, file.txt. Let me type something here. And what does it mean that it is untracked? So when we are working with Git and we have files inside the Git folder, it doesn't necessarily mean that all files inside this folder are managed by Git. So to add these files to the Git system so they are managed, we need to add them to Git system. We need to add them to the stage state and then commit them to our project. So to commit all files inside our folder, we need to type git add and dot. Dot means that we want to refer to all files inside this folder. So when I type this, and now if I type git status, I can see that no commits yet, changes to be committed. All right, now our file.txt is recognized by the Git system. However, it is not part of our system yet. So what we need to do, we need to commit our change to the Git project. Right now, what we did by typing git add command, we added our files to the stage state. Stage state is this, let's say, middleware stage when we just unsure about our commits yet, but we want them to be recognized by the Git system. So now, to commit the actual file, to commit the actual changes that we made to the code, to our files, we need to type git commit -m. It stands for message. And then we need to type the commit command. So what things we did with this command? So let's say created file.txt. Something like this. Then I'm gonna hit enter, and as you can see, one file changed, one insertion. Now, if I type git status, I see that nothing to commit, working tree clean. And that's fine. Now, the next command for you to learn is git log. So git log is basically showing us all commits, all our changes inside our project. So if I hit enter, I'm gonna see that, okay, I have one commit here, created file.txt, date, author, the same credentials that we entered right before we created the project, and then the commit hash. And it says head on the master branch, but don't focus on that right now. We're gonna touch it as well. So that's it. So we made our first commit. That's fine. Now let's go even further and modify our file again. So if I change anything, indentation, anything inside our file, or maybe I want to create a new file, let's say new file.txt, and leave it empty. And if I go back to my terminal and I type git status, I'll see that now I have one file modified, which is file.txt, and this file is tracked by Git because it is already in the Git system. And as you can see, again, I have untracked file, which is new file.txt. That's because this is a new file and it hasn't been added to the Git system. So again, that's fine. We need to do exactly the same thing as before. We need to first type git add dot, and it will add all files in our folder to the stage state. After that, we need to commit our changes. So we're gonna type git commit -m. We will put our commit message. So it is going to be, let's say, edit some changes. Let's not focus on that too much. As you can see, everything has been inserted. Nice. If I type git log again for the history, now I can see that, all right, now I have two commits and I can see my previous commit as well as the new commit. All right, so that's fine. We know how to work with basic commands, and that's it. If you are working on a project, that's the basic thing to do when you want to just keep track of things. Now, let's move on and let's see what do we have on the agenda. We covered how we can initialize a new Git project. We know how to make commits with the git commit command, and also basic Git commands just to create project, to view the history, etc. By the way, if you, let's say, have 20 commits or 100 commits, you don't want to show all of them, right? With git log command, it will show you all commits in your project. To restrict how many last commits you want to view, you can type git log -n for number, and then the number of latest commits. For example, I want to view the latest commit. So as you can see, it is going to show me my last commit. All right, now let's move on. And what do we have here? We have uploading newly created Git project to GitHub and cache credentials. All right, so now that we have this project in our machine locally, and we want, let's say, to share it with other developers so they can also make changes to this code, I don't know, modify files or create their own files, just to commit themselves to the project. So let's open GitHub, and if you haven't created an account yet, so just please create one. It is very simple, nothing too special. After that, just go to your profile and you will end up on this page. What we need to do to upload our project to GitHub, we need to first create a new repository. So first of all, what is a repository? Repository is just another name for a project, but on GitHub. So if we click on this plus button on the top right and click new repository, we can create a new repository, and let's name it my some project, something like that. Then we can put optional description, and we can select either it is going to be public and visible for everyone, or it is going to be private. Right, let's keep it private, and also make sure that you unticked that one, but it is unticked by default, so that's fine. And let's hit create new repository. After that, we will end up on this page. So this page can instruct us how we can connect our local project to GitHub, but we will go with our own way. So, or create a new repository in the command line, or push an existing repository. What we need to do, we need to first associate our remote project, I mean the project that is online, this repository in the browser, with our local project. To do so, we need to copy and paste inside our Git this string, and make sure you select HTTPS, not SSH here. So copy this string and then go to your terminal. Inside this terminal, type the next command. You can see this command here at the bottom. Actually, let's copy and paste it. So copy, open your terminal, and then just paste it here. What this command does. So git remote will associate our local project with remote project. So by running git remote add, we associate this URL with origin alias. And by default, origin is like the main alias for our main remote Git project, let's say. We can verify that by typing git remote and then -v. All right, git remote, excuse me. And as you can see now, we can see that we have origin with this URL. So it means that our local repository knows about our remote project. So now the only thing for us is left is to push our changes online. So what we need to do, we need to type git push, then we need to specify the alias that we have for this remote project. So we added origin, so we put git push origin, and then we need to specify the branch what we want to deploy. Since we don't know about branches yet, just type master. This is the main branch when it comes to Git. If I hit enter, it will deploy my project online. And as you can see, everything's fine. However, because you are new to GitHub, you will get the prompt window and it will ask you for your credentials. That's totally fine, and that's a totally normal thing. Just enter your GitHub username and password. However, it will ask you every time for your credentials because our local machine doesn't know about GitHub and GitHub doesn't know about us. That's why GitHub needs to authorize us, because we just making some changes to some repository. GitHub just wants to ensure that we are the right person to deploy. So we need to cache our credentials because we don't want to authorize ourselves every time when we deploy something, right? So what we need to do, we need to go to Google and then just type GitHub cache password. After that, go to the first URL and based on your OS, select the page. So it basically takes one or two commands. On Windows, it is just one command. So I'm gonna copy this, open my terminal, and then paste it here. Just like that. After that, next time when we will try deploy changes, everything will be cached. To verify that, you can type git config, then global and list, the same command that we used before. Now you will see that credential.helper and the credential helper that you are using based on your OS. So that's it. Now, if I refresh my project on GitHub, I will see that now it is deployed online and other people can view it too. So as you can see, now I see my latest commit here. I see how many minutes ago it has been committed, also the file name, and all other cool things like branches, commits, packages, releases, contributors. So if I click on commits, here I can view all my Git history. And if I click on one of the commits, I can see the exact changes that has been made on this particular commit. So this is very cool and this is very useful. What else do we have? Further push-pull actions. So what do I mean by this command? Before I get into it, let's imagine you are another person. And you've been invited to participate in this project and you don't have these files on your machine. All right, imagine you don't have this folder on your machine. So what are you gonna do? Just go to the repository online on GitHub, and then you can see this clone or download right here over here. You can clone with HTTPS or you can download the source files. So we are interested only in cloning it with HTTPS. So just copy this string, and what you need to do, you need to create, let's say, a new folder. Let's say name it project. Here in this folder, I'm gonna open my terminal again, and I'm gonna write the next command, git clone, and the same string that I copied from here. So let me run this command and let's see what is happening. Cloning into my some project. And if I look closely inside my folder, I can see that if I open this folder, now I have access to these files. So everything has been copied to my local machine. And if I go to this folder, I can see that master keyword here. It means that I also have Git inside this project initialized for me. So, and if I type git remote -v, I can see that I already have my project, my local project associated with the remote project. So that's it. That's how people share their code on GitHub, and that's how people work together. But there are tons of details and more things to do with GitHub, and I talk about branches. But this is our topic for the next video. In this video, I would like to also touch this thing that I didn't answer, what is further pull and push actions. So once you have your files locally, you need to ensure that you keep them online. So the changes you make locally, it doesn't mean that they are instantly updated online. Let me open this new file here, just like that, and I'm gonna do some changes. Save that file. So when I make some changes, they are only reflected locally. They are not published online. So again, if I type git status, I can see that this file has been modified. All right, I'm gonna write git add, then git commit, and specify a new commit message. It is going to be modified new file.txt, let's say something like that. After that, I can publish my changes back online again. So that you should do every time when you do changes to the code, so other people can see it, and you just want to make sure that this is online. Maybe you delete this folder or something accidentally happens, so you just want to make sure that everything is safe. So again, the same command, git push origin and the master branch. So git push origin master. If I hit enter, everything will be deployed. Yeah, as you can see, master to master. If I go back to the repository and refresh the page, as you can see, now I have 3 commits instead of 2. So modified new file.txt and the changes that have been made to file. One more thing, imagine that if 2 persons working on a project and one of the persons push changes online, just like we did, and other person have local changes, but this person doesn't have the latest commit from GitHub. Let's say online we have 4 commits, but inside my local project I have only 2 or 3 commits. I already have the project but not the latest updates. So to grab the latest updates from the project, the command is very similar to git push. It is git pull. So you have push to push your changes online, and you have git pull to pull your changes to your local machine. So git pull origin master. As you can see, everything is already up to date. That's because my local files are synchronized with my remote project. So everything is fine. So that's it. That's the very basic things how to work with Git. I guess it wasn't too complicated, but again, if you have any questions, I'm always there for you in the commentaries.